This week, crisis in Papua New Guinea with refugees injured during rioting. Anti Shark Cull protesters demonstrated at the first day of Parliament. And the Coburn Mayor Leung urged residents to voice their concerns against the carve of the city.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. Danielle Staniskov has the night off. First this week, the Asylum Seekers Detention Centre riot in Papua New Guinea has sparked a protest in Perth. Human rights activists accused Federal Immigration Minister Scott Morrison of lying about the situation.
I think that they should be moving the asylum seekers from Manus Island to the Australian mainland since they can no longer ensure their protection. You have people who are already coming from war zones and places of persecution, and we have now put them in a situation where they are facing a new type of persecution, attacks from G4S and the locals. I think it's incredibly traumatic for those people to be beaten, abused, shot and knifed by those people and then be forced back into their care where they have to see them every day.
The organisers said at least 400 people protested in Perth. Meanwhile, another 100 people demonstrated in Fremantle. WA gets a new weapon in the fight against cane toads by using specially trained dogs to detect them. Environment Minister Albert Jacobs met Reggie, the Springer Spaniel, at the Department of Parks and Wildlife's headquarters.
Reggie the Springer Spaniel sniffed out a cane toad in the backyard of an East Perth home this week. Although authorities do not know how the cane toad got into Perth, Department of Parks and Wildlife officer searched the area and handed out information to residents. Environment Minister Albert Jacobs urged Western Australia to be aware and report suspected cane toads to the Cane Toad Hotline.
They're very poisonous creatures, so if you're going to handle it, use gloves, catch it, please don't kill it, just catch it and isolate it in a bucket or a container and call that wildlife hotline.
The minister said the Springer Spaniel's sharp sense of smell and ability to obey commands makes it the perfect dog for detecting cane toads. DPAW's Senior Wildlife Officer Rick Dawson shared some tips on how to catch cane toads safely before the officers arrive.
So one of the key things you're able to do is get a bucket and put it straight over the top of it, and that'll stop it from moving. Some people, with a broom gently sweep it in the bucket, put a lid on it, but jump on the phone straight away. My wildlife officers and the guys on the hotline and Wildcare Helpline will help out straight away.
Residents who are not sure about the toad species should contact the department on 1800 44 9453 as soon as possible. Patryk, Lazarz, WAM News.
WA's Fisheries Minister Cam Bastian believes the drumline policy is a success despite no great whites were caught. But the opposition and animal advocates disagree, stating that the bait and kill policy does not help to save more lives near beaches.
According to the data released by the Fisheries Department this week, 66 sharks were caught and 17 were killed. Out of those 66 sharks, 23 were in the southwest and 43 were in the Perth metro area. Fisheries Minister Ken Bastian believed the data proved that the method is working. The minister also said a bigger 25-0 C-shaped hook was used by the department to avoid catching other wildlife, including dolphins.
I think this proves that within 1 kilometre offshore there is actually some very large sharks been swimming around, and so I believe that the program so far has been a success in that sense.
However, the Labor opposition described the policy as a failure, after the data showed approximately 97% of sharks which are caught, released and killed were tiger sharks.
Why have they put the policy in place? It's clearly a failed policy. Look, the government was on the right track. They were doing more monitoring, more tagging, more education, more helicopter flights. They're on the right track, and they've ruined all that good work with this failed cull program.
At the same day, approximately 150 people attended the Anti Shark Cull rally at Parliament House. Rally organiser Natalie Banks claimed 80% of survey respondents are against the government's Shark Cull initiative.
In my view, the fact that they've only got tiger sharks and that 74% of those are undersized is not a success.
During the rally, a mother whose son was killed by a shark delivered an emotional speech to Premier Colin Barnett, urging him to stop the bait and kill policy. Josef Barker, WAMN News.
The city of Coburn urged its residents to sign the submission to the local government advisory board and reject the carve-up. A recent independent report claims that the state government's plan to split Coburn will cost $100 million, a claim that Fremantle, Kwinana and Melville strongly denies.
An economic study released last week by international firm AEC Group has shown that Coburn residents are financially better off uniting with Kwinana than being split into 3 different areas. As such, City of Coburn Mayor Logan Howlett has urged residents who love Coburn to sign a submission to voice their support against the state government's plan to carve up Coburn between Fremantle, Melville and Kwinana.
So what we have got is a large campaign across our community. We have 100 community groups, sporting clubs, cultural clubs, etc. out there getting submissions to be sent to the Local Government Advisory Board before the 13th of March.
According to the council, a merger with Kwinana will cost only $7.8 million as opposed to $100 million in the WA government 3-way carve-up. But that claim has been strongly rejected by Fremantle, Melville and Kwinana city councils. Shibs, WMN News.
To national news, Australian Federal Police raided Channel 7's office in response to rumours that the station secured a $3 million paid interview with Schapelle Corby. According to the 7 network, the AFP executed the search warrants. 30 police officers and 8 patrol cars took part in the raid. 7's Chief Executive Officer Tim Warner said an agreement had not been reached with Schapelle Corby. Meanwhile, the AFP will not comment on the matter, as the investigation is still ongoing. And that's how Perth looks this week. For the latest news, you can check out our website and follow us on Facebook or Twitter. On behalf of Danielle Staniskov, have a good night, and here's Howard Sattler with the Sattler File.
Australian politicians wonder why voters don't respect them. Well, for the answer they need look no further than a bloke called Craig Thompson. He's a former Labor and more recently independent member for the seat of Dobell in the federal parliament.